One of the first people that I'm going to introduce to you tonight, Anthony Washington from the Attain Lab. Anthony Washington is an Attain student who came to the Broome County Urban League after beating all odds. He overcame many obstacles and worked to earn his Microsoft Office Specialist certification in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and Outlook. That's impressive, especially Access. We are so very proud of Anthony, and he is now gainfully employed and registered at Broome Community College in the spring. Anthony Washington.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you tonight. It's such a beautiful group, beautiful audience, and I'm truly thankful to be amongst your company tonight, and I'm truly thankful to the Urban League for the invitation to be here this evening. When I think about the theme, changing lives, all kinds of quotes come to my mind, quotes that I've internalized, because in 1990, at the age of 18, I made one of the most foolish decisions a youth can make, in agreeing to accompany two gentlemen on a robbery which they had planned. And during the commission of that robbery, a human life was taken. And I ended up being sentenced to a 17 years to life prison sentence. And I was disgusted with myself. I was raised better than that. My father, whom some of you may know, his name is Ricky Washington, Earl Washington. My mother, her name is Lillian Johnson. They instilled in me at a very early age to obey the law, to respect the law, to value the law, to respect your elders, to stay away from crime, and don't follow knuckleheads. You know, don't follow knuckleheads. And that night I rebelled against their advice and I rebelled against my conscience. And it cost me dearly. I ended up in a jail cell, and I knew that that's not where I wanted to be. And I knew that if I wanted a different outcome, I had to make a change. You know, there was something that went wrong. You know, something I had to identify. So, you know, I would come across a saying. I became Muslim. I came across a saying in the Quran, where it says in translation that the conditions of your circumstances will not change until you first change what is in you. Okay? So I knew I had to work on my heart. You know, I was surrounded by doctors, lawyers, people of all professions, but yet they were sitting right there with me. And I noticed that what we had in common was that we had a diseased heart. You know? So I just want to mention that to you, because I feel that it's significant, so that you can understand a little bit about my background. Also, there was a change amongst the prisoners who were devoted and committed to change. That change is an inside job. Change is an inside job. So I knew I had to work on myself. And I recall the quote from Mahatma Gandhi, where he said that you must become the change you seek. All right? So while I was in prison, I began working on myself. I began working on my thinking, you know, my behavior, my attitude. Because although I never felt that I was a criminal, I never was into committing crimes, just that night it was like an aberration. And that's why I would advise all of you to talk to your sons and your grandsons and remind them to the importance of the law and the value of the law, and to respect the law, and don't follow knuckleheads. You know, don't follow foolish people. You know. So I worked on myself, and when I was released after a 21-year sentence, I was returning back to this community. And another thing I want to do, because I always told myself if I was ever in an audience, you know, the size of this, that I would I would tell you that I'm sorry. And I apologize for offending you and violating your trust those many years ago. And I ask you to forgive me. Ask you to forgive me. So when I came out of prison, I had a plan. I had a short-term plan. My plan was to abide by all the conditions of parole. I was given discretionary release of parole, and my plan was to abide by those conditions, to establish a great rapport with my parole officer, to gain employment, and to enroll at BCC. I wasn't able to take advantage of college because right before I was able to do so, they removed the Pell Grant and the TAP from the prisons, like in 94, 95. So, but I did try to educate myself as much as I can, as much as I could, and I think I did a pretty good job. So when I came out to go to college, so I began filling out applications upon applications, and I had to put that I was convicted of murder and robbery in the second degree. And when people see that, obviously they're gonna have misgivings. They murder, robbery, and they got all these other applications, they're gonna reject it. So things weren't as easy as I thought they would be as far as obtaining employment. I wasn't receiving any phone calls. The one time I did receive a phone call was when I said I'll discuss at the interview. Because I was hoping to be given a chance to explain to them there were mitigating circumstances involving my crime. I had no physical contact with the victim. I only went there foolishly intending to rob him, foolishly and criminally. I take full responsibility for my actions. But I didn't. I was just shocked. Now I would like to be given a chance to talk to the interviewer and explain to the interviewer those things. So after a while, I saw that wow, man, I got to come up with another plan. I don't think I'm going to get a job. So what I did was I went to UHS and I contacted the coordinator volunteers program there. Her name is Trisha Alamo, whom I love so much, whom I love dearly. She's such a beautiful soul. And I asked her if I could volunteer there. All right? But before that, let me talk about why I'm up here. I'm up here because I'm an attained student. I'm going off the track. I apologize. A little nervous. But I went to the Attain Lab after speaking with the coordinator of the Reentry Task Force. His name is Jeff Pryor. Jeff Pryor and I, we sat down, I explained to him my situation. He told me about the Attain Lab, because I had told him that I don't know about this employment thing. So we went over the skills, and I had minimal skills. I didn't have many skills, and most of the skills I had were like outdated, operating old printer presses from back in the early 90s. So he said, why don't you contact the Attain Lab? And I did so. And I went through their orientation, and they explained to me all about the services that the Attain had to offer and the benefits I would gain from it. And I enrolled immediately, and I began moving, taking all of the courses and moving up a level. And remember, you have to know that after being locked up for 21 years, at the tender age of 18, coming out here in 2011, there was a culture shock for me. I was afraid of cell phones. Don't ask me anything about the internet. Don't ask me anything about the email, right? So, but the Attain Lab helped to remove that intimidation, that fear, and that ignorance of those things. They taught me about the internet. They taught me about emails. They taught me about different software applications on the Microsoft Office suite, and to the point where they educated me, and I was able to take the certification test and pass the certifications in all the programs that the Attain Lab has to offer. And I enhanced my office skills. So where now I can create documents using the Word efficiently, proficiently. PowerPoint slides, Excel spreadsheets, access databases, and Outlook. Outlook, obviously, email, Outlook. And I must say, the staff at the Attain Lab, Mrs. Karen White, Mrs. Shelley Lay, Mrs. Rockefeller Leslie, they are my dream team. I love them. From the bottom of my heart, I really love them. They never said one discouraging word. Everything they said was encouraging. And they knew my situation. You know, and I learned from them professionalism. You know, and I learned from them, you know, interpersonal skills, things like that. And I know that I will always have a home, as I was telling Shelley earlier. I will always have a home at Attain. Attain is my second home. So I just want to also add, in conclusion, that I applied. When I first came out, I was told by my PO, he said, look, you know, normally when you come up with this type of crime, the college won't accept you. I said, okay, all right, cool. So Attain will become my college. So Attain became my college. And Attain helped me to be ready for the academics at college, at the college level, you know, because I was a dropout in the 10th grade. That's as far as I got. Everything else I learned on my own, and I learned through Attain. So a whole year I just stayed at the Attain Lab. I would go to the Attain, I would go to UHS and volunteer. Attain and UHS volunteer. And after a year, I applied to BCC. BCC, they said, oh, murder robbery, nah. You're not welcome. You're not welcome. I said, okay. And they started, in a letter explaining, you know, that you pose a reasonable risk to the BCC community. And I understand that. And I sent them a letter. I said, although I disagree with your decision, I can understand your concern for the campus community. I understood that. And they said that I could appeal. So I exercised my right to appeal. I sent them a 2-page letter. They were, I don't know what the correct term would be, but they were shocked. You can say they were shocked, and they were amazed. They said, you wrote this? I said, yes, I wrote this. They said, well, come on in, we want to ask you a few questions. I said, okay, I'll be there. I went there, and they asked me 1,000 questions. Not 1,000, just talk. About maybe 12 questions, a dozen questions. I answered them all to their satisfaction. They accepted me on the spot. So I'm thankful to BCC also. And I used Karen as a reference. I used Trisha Alamo as a reference. I said, contact these people. They'll tell you that my past does not remotely, reflect who I am today. You know? And there was another thing I wanted to add regarding my plan. I wanted to work with at-risk youth. I want to be a deterrent to crime. I want when people think of Anthony Washington, they say, that man is a deterrent to crime. I want to think that I abhor and I detest crime more than any of you in this room right now because of what I've been through. And I must say, you are a beautiful bunch. You are a very beautiful bunch. And that's basically it. You know, and I ended up getting a job at UHS part-time. I worked at UHS part-time in the Food and Nutrition Department, and I'm thankful to UHS for that. UHS is like one of the biggest employees in the area, along with SUNY, as I understand it. Like Assemblywoman down in the party said at one time it was IBM, you know. And my father, he worked at IBM. He was looking through the program out there. Those of you know him, and his wife, my stepmother, she was she worked. I'm not sure what she did. She worked at IBM also. My mother, Lillian Johnson, she works at the high school. You know, yes. And basically, I just want to come up here and come from the heart, because what comes from the mouth reaches the ears, and what comes from the heart reaches the heart. You know? And I hope that I've reached your heart with the words I've spoken today. Amen. And